Hey, what's going on? Tim Kanak with Perkins Roofing, and today we are in Bonita Springs around Naples. So as I've mentioned before, and you've seen in a couple of the videos, we do go to the west coast of Florida. We have done roofs in Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Bradenton, Tampa area, Sarasota. So we do go to the west coast if you are looking for our services. And funny enough, I tell people, I say, hey, the only thing, if we're going to the West Coast, is you're just going to have to pay for my guys to stay in an Airbnb so they don't have to drive all the way across every night. So it may cost a little bit more. But the hilarious thing is that these homeowners, they showed me some of the other quotes that they received for their roof. And even with my travel expenses to come, we were still cheaper. So even from my travel expenses to come from Palm Beach branch all the way here, we were still cheaper than the locals here in Naples, the local roofing companies. So don't be afraid to call Perkins Roofing. Even though we're in Miami, in Palm Beach, we're still going to give you better service, a better roof, and a better price than your other competition, your other roofers here in Naples and in Fort Myers. They're price gouging y'all. Call us at Perkins Roofing. Let's go check out the roof now, because the drying is done. This is a nice size house, and I want to show you these tiles. One of the things that you see all the time on the west coast of Florida, but you never see on the east coast of Florida, is that a lot of the fascia and soffit are built like this. They built a lot of these houses in the 90s and 2000s, where you have a PVC, this is vinyl, soffit instead of stucco or wood. Like down in or on the east coast, a lot of our homes are a little bit older, and even the newer ones are usually stucco finished. But for whatever reason here, we have a lot of vinyl finish soffits. You can see what that looks like. That's something you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot if they pop out. They're pretty easy to install. You can just screw them in. And then we also have aluminum or vinyl fascia covers. Like this one is actually vinyl, not aluminum. But this fascia cover is built to cover an actual piece of fascia wood that's behind here. And that's supposed to say, hey, this is supposed to stop your wear and tear on your fascia from moisture, but it doesn't really do that much, because your fascia can still get moisture if you have a leak and rot out behind the fascia cover, which I've showed you on some other houses before, like on my high pitch shingle and impact window videos you've seen, that it still can rot out behind the cover. So the cover, while it's, looks nice and it holds this in place, they're kind of expensive, and I don't think they're worth the money. So that's why we never really install them on these coasts. I do get asked that all the time. People ask me, how come you never put vinyl soffits in and you never put vinyl fascia covers? I just don't think it's worth the money. I mean, if you want to spend the money, we'll do it. It's not hard to do. Like, it's pretty easy install, but they just don't really do much longevity-wise to help the roof or the home last longer. So that's why I say, just if you want new fascia, just go cedar and paint the cedar instead of putting these covers on. The covers cost a lot more than the cedar, and cedar's going to last longer than putting yellow pine with the cover on. So see, we're nailing in the rest of the hip metal right now on the roof. It's more or less done at this point. And you see our roof cement underneath. I've talked about that before. And we're cutting the TU from the edge as well here on the roof. These tiles, you can see here's the hip bridge tiles. When we picked these tiles, I sent the homeowner a number of different tile samples, and this is the one that they selected. You can see the antiquing here on the tile. That's not dirt. That's part of the tile color. Now, while I've talked about the profiles of the tile, I haven't really talked about this style So this right here where you have the line in the middle is called a split. So this in particular is called split slate because this is a Westlake tile. So with this here, it's still one piece of tile, just kind of makes it look like more detailed or smaller pieces. So, or like kind of looks like a shake almost. They also have split shake, which actually does more look like a wood piece. But this is called split slate. This is Westlake cedar tan with brown and black antiquing split slate. And you can see, just like I always mention with the concrete tiles, some of them are coming a little scuffed up. Thankfully some of these sections will be hidden, but you see like here and down there on the bottom of this one. That's just one of the issues with concrete tiles. I'll show you when I get my next clay tile delivery, but this doesn't happen with the clay tiles. All these little scuffs. That's just a concrete tile thing. So I just want people to know that this is what you get on these deliveries, and there's nothing the roofer can do about it. When you're buying a concrete tile, which is an inferior product in Florida, vastly inferior to the clay tiles. So I just want people to understand what they're buying. And everyone says, oh, well, everyone else has it. Look at the HOA. Everyone else, actually, they have a clay tile roof. But well, all these others are concrete. But they say everybody else has it. Look, it can't be that bad. But this is a 20-year roof in Florida if you're putting concrete tiles on top. And now, if you're putting clay tiles on top like that house, that roof could last 30 years because there's less moisture that's going to absorb through the tiles and affect the paper, because the paper is the waterproofing, not the tiles. The tiles are just here to protect the paper from sun exposure or from impact damages in the event of a windstorm. The actual waterproofing is this paper right here, this TU Plus, which is 80 mil polyglass TU Plus. Best underlayment on the market. It's 80 mils, so it's the thickest. A lot of the others are 60 mils, unless you're using a certain teed flint elastic, which is thicker. It's a cap sheet material, so it's a little bit different, a little more expensive. But this TU Plus for the standard underlayments is the best at 80 mils, and it also has wind pressures for 165 mile per hour winds. Much better when self-adhered to the deck than installing an anchor sheet or base sheet underneath. Let me take you through the rest of the roof now. Sometimes you'll run into these areas on the roofs where there are little cricket areas, like right here, there's a dual valley. Basically, you have a valley right here, and then you have a little baby valley right here that I'm standing on. And when you have this dual valley, it comes into this area here where it just turns flat. So we put the cap sheet here to deflect any water that gets stuck here, because the cap sheet is meant for water to sit on. You don't want it to sit on there for more than 48 hours, but it's a lot better for that than the TU Plus. So in your flat areas, you'll put cap sheet there. What my homie Ricardo is doing down there is he's putting it down PG 500 roof cement on the eave, just like you have here under these metals. And that's for the eave closure to nail on top of. So we already have our drip metal on under the paper. That's our drip metal right there, the metal that is in between the fascia and the paper, and that has PG 100 primer on it before we put the paper down to stick it, so that sticks the paper to the metal. And now on top of the paper here, we're putting PG 500 roof cement. These are fastening through the paper, and that's going to stop the nails from leaking because they're going to go into the bowl. They're going to sink into the bowl, and the bowl is going to fill the void, the hole of the nail. All right, so right here, you can see we have a pool cage and a super gutter that's built into a good portion of the roof. You might say, how do we work around this? You can see right there that it's fine. Most of the time, the pool cage is built where you can put your drip metal still on and it's not an issue. Sometimes you have to downgrade to 2x2, which I hate, just because the pool cage will be too high. Now, this gutter here, I get a lot of questions about this. Oh, you guys do gutters? Do you do super gutters? No. This is called a super gutter. This gutter is built into the pool cage. You can see from the top here, this is part of the pool cage, this super gutter. This is not an independent element. It's its own part of the cage system. This is what helps attach the cage to the home. So it's so hot outside that my phone literally died in the middle of the last video, just so you know. The super gutter, basically, gist of the video, super gutter is not part of the regular gutter system. And right now I'm walking on the entrance of the roof, which is like really crowded with tiles, but I want to show you something over here. This area here, if you own a home like this, because a lot of people are building homes like this, if you're an architect, stop doing this crap, because it's really stupid and it's like impossible to get under for repairs. But look at this. So this spot right here, you cannot even get under. The only way to get in here is to take the fascia off. So I have to put tiles still in here. And when we did the roof, we had to take the fascia off just to get into this little spot here. And they just really need to stop doing this. So look at this, right under here. It's not humanly possible to fit into this tiny little spot here. So the only way to get in there is to take the fascia off. Architects need to stop building this where you cannot fit in certain areas. You need to be able to fit in parts of your home to fix it, to repair it, and keep it maintained. When you do this, and you have this here, right here, you can't fit in there. It's not possible for a human to fit in there. So you have to take the fascia off just to get in there, which makes it a lot harder. So roof repairs and re-roofs where you have this tight little area where you can't even fit in there, just architects, if you're watching this, stop doing this, please. And if you own a home that has this space, just know you're gonna have to pay a little bit more because it's really hard to get in that space. You gotta take the fascia off. Like we have to take the fascia off twice. One time for the repair because we can't leave it open, and then to put it back. Now I gotta take it off again to put the tiles. So it's just a huge pain in the butt to deal with tight spaces. And it's like that on both sides of this entrance. In here, I can barely even get my hand in here, much less a human body into that space right there. So, as you can see, Perkins Roofing, we do roofs all over Florida, and even cheaper to call us and have us stay in an Airbnb than to hire the guys over here in the Naples area. They're so expensive. So give us a call, 305 MIA Roof for Miami-Dade, Broward, and the Keys, and then 561-559 Roof for Palm Beach, Martin, St. Lucie. Call either branch if you're somewhere else and you want a quote. We got you, and we'll come and travel and do your roof no matter where you're at in Florida. So just give us a call for any of those. And for Perkins Construction, impact windows, concrete restoration, painting, interior renovations, give us a call at either of those numbers. Franchise at perkinsroofing.net if you want to do this kind of stuff too. And get these nice homes all roofed up all around the state of Florida in the best Perkins way. trim metals here installed instead of the 2-inch that Florida building code lets you do, which is dumb because you want to cover your wood nailer. And our ladder is set up for the inspector for the final inspection, and also for the engineer's uplift test, which is a high velocity hurricane zone thing where we come and we pull on the tiles. The engineer will pull on the tiles and mark a T on the tiles, which means tested this spot, to make sure that the foam is applied correctly and in the right amount so that the foam patties are big enough so that you get 160 mile per hour rating. One of the funny things that a lot of people don't know is that you only need to do the uplift test, the engineer uplift test, in high velocity hurricane zone. So you only have to do that in Miami-Dade, in Broward, and the Keys. You don't have to do that anywhere else in Florida. So that means that nobody anywhere else in Florida is testing to make sure that enough foam was used on these tiles, or enough screws, or whatever the install method was used on the tiles, and that they're adhered to survive a storm. So that means that any Yahoo can come out here and just put like one dot of foam, just like a barely any foam, so that your tiles are going to go flying right away. That's why you need to hire a good company who is familiar with HVHZ, who's going to have an engineer come and do the engineer uplift test and make sure that the tiles are actually on. Otherwise, what's the point? You spend all this money to put a roof on, and you say, oh, this company's $1,000 cheaper than that company. You hire them, and then they don't use enough foam, and your tiles go flying for a storm. And you're like, what the heck? That's a new roof. I just paid for that roof. How did that happen? That must have been a strong storm. Blah, blah, blah. No, it's because they used one little dot of tile bond, and they didn't use the freaking AH160, where they're barely using any foam on the AH160, so that you're not getting correct application of the tiles on the roof. And who's going to know? The inspector doesn't come out and check the tiles as they're being installed. They do an in-progress inspection when nobody's here. They're not coming out, and it's very easy. You could do, okay, I'm going to use the correct amount of foam on the in-progress inspection, which is only, 200 square feet. And then for the whole rest of the roof, I'm going to use barely any foam so I can save some money. Because guess what? The foam is super expensive. People don't understand that AH160 for the A and B set is like $1,200. So the foam is incredibly expensive. And it costs way more than screws, the foam. The foam, on average, costs about $85 a square if you install it the correct amounts. You can sheet that by using smaller amounts like I just mentioned, or by using tile bond, which is cheaper, a single component foam, but you're not going to get the grab that you need. And if you screw tiles in, you're only spending like $10 or $20 a square instead of $85. So it saves you significantly. That's like 65 cents a square foot savings by screwing it. But the screws are only rated for 110, 120 miles per hour, not 160. And not to mention, when you have screws, you are putting holes in the roof that when you get movement of the tiles during a number of storms, it's not going to happen storm number 1, but if 15 years of tropical storms, guess what? The movement of those tiles is going to make those screws move, and you're going to get holes in those screws. I see it all the time. I'm not just making this stuff up. I have a 3-year-old roof that I'm about to re-roof right now. That was an insurance claim because they screwed the tiles in, and hurricane from the west coast hit the east coast, and this house is on the east coast, so it was like a Cat 1 by the time it hit. But it moved the tiles so much that they had to get a new roof because they had like 5 roof leaks from the screw holes. So this stuff happens all the time. You can see here, this is a tough area that we had to do to put the tiles in, because this fascia right here, there's like 0 clearance to get in here and get the tiles done. But the guys did it, and they did a great job. You can see our cricket right here. This is where on a metal roof that I tell people not to put flat roof paper, put metal. Just put a whole metal sheet in this section here in the crickets. On a tile roof, the tile roof is a concrete tile roof. It's only gonna last 20 years anyway. Like, I put it on, so maybe it'll last 25, but you're not gonna get 30 plus years out of this roof. So the flat roof, doing the flat roof doesn't really matter. Maybe in 15 or 20 years, they wanna silicone that, or put a polyurethane on the crickets. But besides that, to be honest, it doesn't really matter. You can see the cuts on this roof. A pretty cut up roof, big long roof. Like I said earlier in the video, my price to do this roof was about $76,000 roughly for this roof. And the other prices that this person got were in the 80s for this roof. So, and those were from local companies in the 80s. And my $76,000 price included the money for Airbnbs for my guys to be working on this project for 3 weeks. So 3 weeks of Airbnbs. You see, the roof looks great. Looks great from the ground. Beautiful. Love the door color too. You see the house finished behind me. Looking great here in Bonita Springs on the west coast of Florida, where we also work, as noted earlier in the video. So if you want Perkins Roofing to give you a beautiful roof like this at a better price than the locals here with high velocity hurricane zone code, because we are doing on this roof high velocity hurricane zone code, not Florida building code, which means you're going to get AH160 foam, 160 mile per hour rated foam, not the cheap crap, the tile bond, not the single component foam. You're also going to get 4-inch spacing on your fasteners. We're not doing the regular Florida building code. We're doing 4 inches on fasteners. And you're gonna get 3-inch strip metal. So if you want a high velocity hurricane zone house at a cheaper price than a Florida building code house, high velocity is better, then call Perkins Roofing. If you're in the Naples, Bonita Springs, Cape Coral, Fort Myers area, we will give you a better roof for a cheaper price. What more can you ask for than a better roof for a cheaper price? So give us a call at 305 MIA Roof, or you can call my Palm Beach office, 561-559 Roof. And you can also call us for impact windows and doors. We do these things, house painting, garage doors even, anything exterior, siding. I have a client that we're going to do a ceiling project for, where we're going to put in like a composite wood drop ceiling on their exterior patio areas. We do gutters. We also do any sorts of sheet metal. So these are all things that we can do at Perkins Construction. Outside showers, we do exterior side showers, pool decks, pavers, driveways. We can do all this stuff for you at Perkins Construction. On the inside, bathroom and kitchen renos, we have another client we're doing that for now. Perkins Construction. Call either of those numbers, 305 MIA Roof or 561-559 Roof, to get to Perkins Construction, and that's throughout the whole state of Florida. And again, it's cheaper and better quality products to call us to do your projects here in Naples and in Bonita Springs and in Fort Myers than to use the locals. They're charging you an arm and a leg. It's just cheaper and better quality. What is stopping you from contacting us right now? And lastly, you know that we have Perkins Franchising. If you want to franchise with Perkins Franchising, if you want to do what we're doing throughout the state of Florida, I'm trying to get a office here in Naples. If you want to create the Naples or the Fort Myers office, which both are separate territories, there are enough houses that are qualified households under our Perkins franchise model that we can have a Naples office and a Fort Lauderdale office. If that interests you, you can take over this market easily, because you will be able to do things at a very cheap price, cheaper than me even, because I have to pay my guys to do Airbnb here. You'll be able to do it cheaper and better and get a ton of work here. So franchise with Perkins Roofing in Naples or Fort Myers. Call me now. Let's get this thing ready. I just need someone who wants to do this. I need the motivated person, motivated, young, hardworking person to come in and make this office and make this work. And we'll all make money together, and I will teach you all of my systems and the way to do things. So I recommend it. Perkins franchise with us. And in the meantime, if you're in this area, Naples, west coast of Florida, Sarasota, Bonita Springs, Fort Myers, give us a call. Let's do it. Let's give you a HVHZ roof at a better price than what the people in your local neighborhoods are doing, even with my travel expenses. It's crazy.